That's basically what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be finding mistakes in writing, editing techniques, making writing look more professional, and easy way to catch mistakes in your own writing. Okay, so first things first, this is a creative writing course. So what constitutes as a mistake in creative writing? So we're not going to be talking about, grammar and punctuation because first of all, we've done that before. Second of all, we are going to be going more in depth on, like structures of writing later on. But today, the mistakes that we're talking about are things that that may be grammatically correct, but make your writing seem unprofessional and hard to read and that kind of stuff. So I have like a list of things. This is kind of going to be what we're going to be covering today. So the first thing that we're talking about is a concept called the info dump. So all these paragraphs are just things that I've found online of just really bad writing with like me editing them. So this is a paragraph don't do this. Once upon a time, there was a girl. She was walking to school, which is about 10.5 minutes away from her house. She has brown hair and green eyes, although at around 3 a.m. when the sky is darkest, her hair actually looks black. If you know HTML code, it's the shade of #331A00. She's around 5 feet tall and in 6th grade. She wears glasses because she's nearsighted and her glasses have purple frames. She lives in England in the city of London, and she's wearing a blue t-shirt. She has a birthmark on her knee that kind of looks like a turtle if you look at it from a 90-degree angle. Her name is Stella, which is Latin for star, and her parents named her that because their favorite movie is Star Wars. Okay, so reading after this clearly awful paragraph, what's the main thing here that's wrong? Any guesses or?
I don't see any relations between the sentences. It's like lots of run-on sentences.
Well, I mean, we're talking about a girl. We're talking about the character, right?
Well, the one thing that I don't think that's really necessary is the fact about the HTML code.
Yeah, well, I mean, the author would tell you, if I don't give you the exact shade, you won't be able to imagine her hair color properly. But honestly, you're also right, because this is what the info dump is. That's like, there's a hyphenated thing, it's short for the information dump. It's giving the reader information that they just don't care about, okay? Like you said, no one cares the exact shade of her hair color. No one cares that she has a birthmark on her knee. No one cares where her name is from. This giant paragraph could literally be shortened to 2 sentences, and this is just a lot of unnecessary things. Essentially, what is the info dump? It gives too much useless information, leaves absolutely nothing to the reader's imagination. Especially when this is what we call narrative writing. So you're telling a story. The point is you can't give the reader everything. No one cares about the details. Really, no one cares. And even if you want to explain details, they have to be explained in a more subtle manner that's not obviously feeding you information that no one understands why they should care yet. So how do we fix this problem? Any ideas before we move on as to how do we convey the things that you want to convey without doing this? Any ideas? Okay. So really this giant thing, this would be the rewritten paragraph. It would be, Stella was walking down the street on her way to school, her green eyes watching the cars of London drive past. This way, in literally 1 sentence, you've conveyed the fact of what she looks like and where she is. Whereas in the original paragraph, it took like the first 6 sentences. Continuing, it was the first day of 6th grade. You've established her age now, and she was very nervous. You've also established the atmosphere. She took a deep breath and pushed up the bridge of her glasses. You have established the fact that she has glasses. It would only take around 10 minutes for her to walk to school, thus she was sure she wouldn't be late for her first class. So this is a very condensed paragraph. It's like 3 sentences total, and it's conveyed everything that giant paragraph was trying to convey and more. That's the scene of the story. You'll notice that it doesn't talk about any unnecessary information no one cares about, because that's the thing about writers pretending that the readers know everything when they just really don't at all.
So is that correct that when you write, and the shorter the better?
It depends. I wouldn't say shorter the better. I would say the more
concise,
the better. Sorry?
Like the more concise, the better?
Yeah, the more concise, the better. If you have a lot of things that really matter, then obviously make it as long as you want, but don't do what the first paragraph did, where it was super long but really unnecessary. So it's shorter the better, I guess, if you're talking about the information that you're giving the reader. So in that case, yes. Any other questions before I move on? Okay. The second one, the screen is not working for me. Okay, there we go. The second one is called the tell, don't show. So this is the badly written paragraph. Stella is a very nice and considerate person who values treating others with kindness and respect. She's wonderful and everyone loves her because of how generous and compassionate she is. On her way to math class, she accidentally bumped into a stranger. "Oh my gosh, watch where you're going," she shouted angrily. "You could have killed me." Stella stormed away furiously, thinking about how much of a kind and considerate person she was, because she was, in fact, a really nice person. What's wrong here? Any ideas?
Doesn't really make sense.
How doesn't it make sense?
Because her
You just screamed at a
How do you kill people by bumping into them? That's the one thing I'm curious about.
You can't, that's the point.
And she's blaming somebody else when she was the one who crashed into somebody.
Yeah. But in terms of writing, what messes up this paragraph?
I think the personality, because in the first paragraph, give you a feeling that she's really nice. And then second one becomes she's shouting, angry, So it's just there's two different personalities. Yeah,
exactly. The author repeats that she's compassionate over and over again, repeats that she's considerate and kind over and over again. But the one line, sorry?
To the fact that, so the author basically says about how kind she is, the fact that she literally acted so rude to a person. I'm curious about that part. How do you kill people by bumping into them?
So this is a really common mistake. We all think this is ridiculous and makes no sense. But a while ago, I used to volunteer at
graphics.
I used to volunteer the summer school place where it's I would write essays and read them over and write these short stories that elementary school students are writing. And this happens a lot. The thing about this is that we have 3 paragraphs, okay? The first paragraph is the author telling you things. The second paragraph is the author showing you things. And the third paragraph is, again, the author telling you things. Now, the reason that this is off is because what the author is telling you versus what the author is showing you is 2 completely different people. If they don't match up, the story is naturally not going to work. So what this is narration contradicts that the actions that's in the actual thing happening in the story. It's confusing, doesn't make sense. There's a general rule of writing. If you go to any literature class, you're going to hear this over and over again. It's the show, don't tell, which is your narrator should not be saying the same thing over and over again to prove a point. So how do we fix it? This is literally 1 sentence that replaces the 3 sentences we're writing. On her way to class, Stella looked up from her phone as she accidentally bumped into someone. "Sorry about that. Are you all right? Really, that was my bad. I should have been paying attention to where I was going." So the narrator didn't say anything, right? It's not like this one where the narrator said over and over again, Stella's very nice. Stella's compassionate. She's wonderful. She's nice. This one, no one said anything. It's just you're being shown something. Because you shouldn't have to tell the audience something without showing them, because that means that something's going wrong. That means you're doing something wrong, because if your author can't use the actions of what's happening to draw their own conclusions, then that basically means that you need to look away from the explaining part of it and figure out what to do from the showing part. Any questions about this one? No? Okay, moving on. Number 3 is called the broken sentences. Stella got to math class. She sat down. The teacher walks in. The teacher took attendance. Stella was bored. The things they were learning were too easy. Math was easy. It was too easy for her. She looked around the classroom. There was a whiteboard. The teacher asked a question. Stella raised her hand. The teacher called on her. She answered. Her answer was correct. She felt happy. She was still bored, though. Her #331A00 hair was in a ponytail. She looked at the clock. 1 was class over. Only half an hour left. She sighed. What's wrong with this one?
It's really.
One, there's not a single comma.
Yeah.
It's like a run-on sentence. Like just it's actually no, it's not a run-on
Basically,
sentence.
like the entire thing, there's no connections between each sentence. There's no start. There's no.
Not at all.
Yeah, it just makes you feel really tired when you read it.
The whole point of saying that is just she's bored.
Yeah, it took her a paragraph to say she was bored, basically.
Maybe sometimes you do need to.
Let's get out. That's all.
Yeah.
Maybe sometimes you do need the skills to show the readers that this character is bored.
That's true. That is true. You'll see a lot of time in novels mostly. When just at the scene, you'll have like a character who's like, she sat down, time passed, and then there will be like 2-word sentences. But you'll see that as in like one line. A general rule is if you have 3 like 2-3-word sentences in a row, that's okay. If you have more than 3 of those, there's a problem. Here, there's clearly more than 3 of them. This is just a bunch of broken up. Let's actually count how many sentences are in this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's 8 lines. Let's see how many sentences there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. There are 21 sentences in this 8-line paragraph. If you have more sentences than you have lines, that's a problem. A paragraph should be generally 5 to 6 sentences, like depending on the length of it. If you have too many of them, then there's something wrong. You have to connect them in some way. Because looking at this, something like this, the first thing that you're going to think is what someone also said it, like how is this connected to each other? You have to literally look at it and realize, okay, it's just her in class being bored. Because there's really like there was a whiteboard versus the teacher asked a question, like there's zero connection at all. So the problems with the broken sentences, it's very boring. People will fall asleep reading it. No one cares anymore. By the second sentence, by the third of this like broken up pieces, no one cares anymore. They can't be bothered. It's flat. There's no dynamic or variety of sentence. And no, I made a mistake editing here. We're gonna ignore that section of the screen. Just focus on the top part. There's no dynamic or variety of sentence length because it's one thing over and over again. And it sounds like you're interrupting yourself because it feels like you can't form it properly. So back to this previous slide. How do we fix something like this, where it's 22 tiny 3-word sentences? How can this be fixed? Any ideas?
Put some connections to it.
Exactly, connections. And like, who is annotating?
Who is what?
Disable it. And
someone has to remind me to disable annotations every single time we have class. Okay. Anyway, back to the question. How do we connect these 21 tiny sentences?
You can, like, you don't have to put, like, she sat down, because, like, we all know she's supposed to sit down in math class.
Exactly.
Then you can say, you don't have to say, like, she was bored. You only can say fine.
Yeah.
And, like, after she says, like, Sneela was born, like, you don't have to say, like, and then you don't have to say her 33180 hair was, like, you don't have to say that was in a ponytail. You don't need that. And then you don't have to say she looked up at the clock. You can say when was class over. And then she's like, and then we all know she's gonna look at the clock. So all you have to say is like, when is class over?
Yeah.
Like only a half an hour left. She said, you don't have to like say. You don't have to say she was still bored though, because we already know she was always bored.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm actually gonna fix this one like right in front of you guys, just right now, because the broken sentences is the one that's the. Can everyone see this, or is it too small?
No, we can see it.
We can see it.
Wait, how can you not see it?
Sorry?
Wait, we can see it. Yeah, we can see it.
Okay. Okay, so this is the easiest to fix because really the one thing you need to do to fix this is commas, comma splices. Just add a bunch of commas, replace the periods with commas, and add a word after. Because after what goes after a comma? What's the first word that goes after a comma? And or
but.
There's like a bunch of different things that can go after a comma, but it has to be any kind of connecting word basically. So we can go, Stella got to math class. We don't even need a comma, and she sat down. For some cases, if add an and works too, and she sat down. The teacher walked in and took attendance.
You forgot a space.
Yes, I did. Stella was bored because the things they were learning were too easy. This is a completely repeated sentence, so we're just going to completely delete this one. She looked around the classroom where there was a whiteboard. The teacher asked the question, comma, and Stella raised her hand. And Stella raised her hand before the teacher called on her. She answered, comma, and her answer was correct. She felt happy, comma, but she was still bored. This doesn't matter. We're going to get rid of it. She looked at the clock, wondering when was class over. Only half an hour left. That doesn't matter. So we just turned 21 sentences into like 5, and it was just a few commas, a few connecting words. Connecting words are things like because, the, and, but, of, as, before, after, those kind of words. It just makes it flow a lot better. There's dynamic, but you'll see that even after here, we still have like at the end, we have like a 5-word sentence. Obviously, it's okay to have broken sentences eventually. Having a 3-word or 4-word sentence, it's fine, but just don't have more than 3 of them in a row. That's when it turns into a problem. Any questions about this until we move on? No? Okay, great. Next, we have what is called the misplaced dramatics. Any idea what this title like means without like reading this paragraph? Like, what am I talking about when I say misplaced dramatics?
When you're supposed to say something before, but you say it after?
Kind of, yeah. So let's read this. It's kind of like what you said, but it's a little bit different in terms of more creative aspects of writing. So, Stella stared at the pencil in her hand. It was a pale golden color, the color of piercing sunlight against glistening crystal. The wooden textures that somehow seemed connected to the forest that it was taken from had an exquisite and mysterious aura, secrets hidden beneath. The sharp tip of the pencil, a tiny piece of ashen charcoal that could create anything and everything, write stories beyond the wildest imaginations and brought insurmountable joy to the world. Then a fire-breathing dragon barged into the classroom and attacked people. Police officers showed up and got rid of the dragon. Stella went back to observing the mystical and thought-provoking pencil, wondering what was the story behind the wooden writing utensil. What's the problem reading this paragraph?
A random living creature has officially broken into the classroom, and I'm confused on how. What's the size of it?
When a fire-breathing dragon came in?
Yeah, what's the size of it? If it's because, and also how are police supposed to take care of something like that when when it's possible that they can get burned?
Good question. And we will not find out because this writer only put 2 sentences into the fire-breathing dragon and the police officer who came to get rid of it. While he had an entire paragraph and like the ending part of the second paragraph talking about Stella and her pencil. So like, I mean, just generally like assuming that a fire-breathing dragon did come into the story, assuming that happened, what's more important, Stella's pencil or this dragon?
Stella's pencil.
The pencil.
The pencil is more important than the fire-breathing dragon.
Not dragon?
The dragon.
Dragon is more important.
They're just joking.
Shouldn't the dragon be more important than the pencil? Because the one reason why is because How is it possible that you're still alive? When there's
Well, we
literally
don't know, right? Because the author only put 2 sentences into it. We don't know how they survived. So this is a problem when you have okay, so just clearing up, the dragon is obviously the important part of the story. Okay, the pencil, no one actually cares that much. It's the dragon and the police that suddenly showed up in the 2 sentences that came in. So this is what we call misplaced dramatics. As you can see in the first paragraph, we have her describing her pencil with these giant words with exquisite and mysterious aura and a tiny piece of ashen charcoal. It's like you would almost think that the entire story is around the pencil until like the one throwaway line about a dragon that showed up. So in this case, it should be flipped, right? It should be maybe 1 sentence about the pencil and then at least 1 paragraph talking about the dragon. And the questions people are asking: how are they alive? How does a police officer get rid of a dragon? Dramatic writing is what we call what she did in the first paragraph, and she's describing the color and using these similes and metaphors to describe a pencil. Use that to describe the important parts of your writing. Don't waste it on talking about, everyday things. That's completely normal. It's the climax of the story. You know how a story, there's always a middle, beginning, and end? In this one, it's the beginning. That's her being bored in class, looking at a pencil. The climax or the rising action would be the dragon coming in. Falling action would be the police officer coming in to get rid of the dragon. And the conclusion of the story would be, her, everything's fine, now she's going back. So general rule is beginning and ending, don't use a bunch of similes and metaphors. Don't compare the pencil to glistening crystal. Compare the dragon to, I don't know, whatever you compare. Compare a dragon to a volcano or something. It's the rising action, climax, and the falling action where you have to put your focus into, because that's the part that matters. That's the part where it's supposed to be dramatic, not the very beginning that no one cares about. So the main thing about this is figure out your priorities. So we had, reading this, people are like confused about like what's the point of the story? Is the story completely centered around the pencil, or is the main problem a dragon that's coming in to attack people, right? So there's always priorities in your story. There's things that matter and there's things that don't. So focus on the things that do matter. Unimportant stuff should be described with unimportant language. The pencil should have been described as she was using a pencil, it was orange, and that should have been it. The dragon should have gone, the giant dramatic descriptions of the pencil gone in this case. Don't over dramatize useless things and under dramatize important things.
The dragon, because it's only like 2 sentences.
Yeah, exactly. This is what we call under dramatizing, and which this crazy thing, like a dragon, that's not a real thing, right? If you were like sitting in your house right now and a dragon burst in and you were telling the story, you would use more than 2 sentences to talk about it.
Maybe I'm fainted already.
Yeah, exactly. But that's not what this writer did.
So no more words.
Mm-hmm. And this is actually a really easy mistake to make, because a lot of time when people are writing, it's, you have like motivation to write like at the beginning. For example, if you're like writing an essay for school or something, you have a lot of motivation for the beginning, and by the end you're like, oh my god, it's getting late, I don't have time, let me rush this. This is what happens when you rush things. This happens. So one of my suggestions to be able to edit your stories better is write the middle first, because that's the part where you're going to be focused on the most, and then once that's done, do the beginning and do the end and just piece that together, because that way you'll be able to ensure that the middle is the dramatic part and the middle is the part that's properly highlighted. Any questions before I move on? Okay. Number 5 is related to the previous one, and this one is called the overdramatics. Stella felt like it was the end of the world. Everything in life that she ever worked for was ruined and her dreams were shattered. What would she do now? She had nothing left, nothing to live for. It was like the sky was falling down on her, trapping her in eternal darkness that had no escape. Her broken soul would never feel joy again as some tragedies cut deeper than knives. She was drowning in sorrow, desperately grasping at the horror that had just befallen her. She made a mistake on a math question she was working on. All hope was lost. Now it was just everlasting despair. This doesn't sound horrible at first glance, but what's the really big problem with this paragraph?
It's a bit over.
It focuses too much on one small.
No, she was doing her math question.
Over emotional, I guess.
Yeah, too emotional. She just got a question wrong on her math, and then she's like, oh, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of over emotional on one question. You can still get an A plus even if you get like one question wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
So you don't have to be over emotional on getting one question wrong.
If there's only if it's out of 20, if you get one question wrong, you won't get an A plus.
Exactly.
It's like using a machine gun to kill a mosquito.
Yeah, exactly. This is not a big deal. I mean,
I don't think that's gonna. You sure if you were to use a machine gun to kill a mosquito, that's more like gonna ruin the house instead.
That is. Don't have a machine gun.
If you have the aim to shoot down the mosquito with a machine gun, you're really good.
Yeah.
That'll be a different story.
True. Well, if you had a machine gun in the house and you were trying to kill a mosquito, you would most likely be killing the house itself.
You would also most likely be arrested for owning a machine gun in the first place.
Get arrested for killing a mosquito.
With a machine gun.
Yeah, so back to this paragraph. If you're going to write this if your reader is reading this, they're going to read that first paragraph and they're going to be very curious about what happened because you didn't tell them. They're going to get to the point where she made a math question mistake and they're just going to be really disappointed because you went through just all of that. If it's not that big of a deal, then don't write it. But there's also there's two ways that this mistake is commonly made. The first way is that, it's just a short story. If it's about a person writing a math test, then it's supposed to be a short story, but the author or the writer or the student handing in an assignment for English decided that they wanted to make their writing seem pretty and aesthetic, and they wanted to make their writing have some poetic factor. So they do this without realizing that this looks ridiculous when you're writing something as simple as a math problem. The other way this mistake is made is when you don't have a correct climax of the story. The stakes aren't there. So a review of a few classes ago, stakes are basically the consequences that your story might have, or just how much the problems in this universe. In this case, the problem is a math test. That's not a big enough problem. If you're going to write this giant dramatic thing about the world ending and eternal darkness, then make the climax something bigger than a math problem. So writing a story, one or the other. It's either don't make it so dramatic or make the consequences a bit greater. So has anyone seen that video of Kim Kardashian crying over her bracelet? No?
Why is she crying over her bracelet?
Because she's a millionaire and she has nothing better to cry about. Yeah. So the most common reaction to that was there are people dying in the world. There are more tragic issues happening. Your character messing up a math question does not warrant this monologue. It just doesn't. It's like if you read the first paragraph, the second paragraph, it's two different stories. It's it doesn't match up, right?
If you read the first paragraph, it looks like there's a wrecking ball. I mean, no, a meteor coming on Earth, and then when you read the second paragraph, it's just a math question. And it's what? It's not a meteor coming.
Yeah. It just makes your...
It's like a bro moment.
Yeah, it is.
It's a depressing
life. It's the celebrities complaining that their swimming pool died.
It's a very depressing life to have one question wrong. when you just have one question wrong can end the whole entire world.
Yeah.
Pretty much. That's pretty much what I think.
What are you guys doing at home when you guys are isolating?
Sorry?
What are you guys doing at home when you guys are isolating?
Well, I have school. Do you guys not have school?
But you don't. You still go to school?
No, we don't have online. Well, we don't have online classes. We're just getting a budget assignment.
I
That's
have
it.
school.
Yeah, most people in Ontario, I think, still have school. Do you guys not have that? No?
I don't have online classes. This is the only type of online classes I have. I don't actually have my online classes with school. So in other words, I'm pretty much.
Wait, Cali. Wait, you're saying you still go to school? You leave your house?
Oh no! It's like virtual. Like they're like either Google Classroom or like Google Meets, that stuff.
Oh,
How are you?
we don't have that.
No.
We don't have that. We don't do that.
Yeah, some school does that. Some school not doing that.
I mean, you can always like learn on your own. It's like you guys like know what stuff you guys are supposed to be learning, right?
Yeah.
No, but if it's like homeschool, it's like if you're doing homeschool, it's like coronavirus is like nothing.
Well, actually, also just off topic for a second. If you guys want to tell me what grade you guys in, I literally have like files on my computer of like the curriculum and like lesson plans of like Ontario. So if you guys want to like later after class, like just send me a text telling me like what grade you're in, I can like make a Google Classroom and just post all of that stuff onto it if you guys want to like learn or teachers aren't teaching.
Can you
Why
enable
not
the
just make a
chat?
Google Form? Why not just make a Google Form? And then
Yeah,
like,
I'll do that. Can literally do that.
make
Are
all of
all
us
the
do it,
parents
like,
in like the
what grade are
WeChat
you?
group thing?
Kelly, maybe you can type your emails in your screen right now so people can
Oh
write
yeah,
it
yeah,
down?
sure.
Yeah, just open the window and type your. No.
Someone disabled the chat.
Oh, no. Can you just start a
Sorry,
new?
that was me. I disabled the chat.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Enable it, Jason.
Okay. I enabled it. Yeah.
5.
Oh, finally. Yeah.
What is
like,
with
just
all
email
the
me,
files?
tell me your grade, like what subjects you want, and I can send you the files.
Okay. Yeah. So email is there. So if you need to send email to Kelly.
Or
Thank
could you
you.
put the chat like we're giving you like what grade? Like that.
Yeah, it depends on which grade you are. Yeah.
5.
So where were we? Okay, yeah. Your character making a mistake in a math problem doesn't need a soap opera. It's not that big of a deal and looks tacky and looks ridiculous and makes your main character look annoying. So how do we fix it? Very simple. Stella sighed as she realized she made a mistake in her calculations. Well, time to go back and fix it. She probably just used the wrong formula or something. 3 sentences. That's all you need for talking about a math problem. Don't go crazy with it.
Don't go over the dramatic. It's
And this
just
is the problem. Like I talk to like my English teacher sometimes, and they say they get these over dramatic things all the time because like in school, like they're not gonna assign you to rewrite Romeo and Juliet. They like assign you to like write about like really like simple things. But students, because we have to reach a limit of words, teacher says at least 1,000 words. So the students end up going crazy, like using the thesaurus. Biggest rule in writing: don't use a thesaurus. If you don't know the synonym to a word and you have to search it up and the word is that difficult, then don't use it because it's going to make it look dramatic. There's a difference between using the word sad and using the word tragic. If today I went and I didn't have enough money to buy ice cream, that's where you would use sad. Don't open a thesaurus and Google synonyms for sad and find it was tragic that I couldn't get ice cream today, because that's also milder cases of overdramatic. It's not as obvious, but when you use these big words for small things, that does make it seem overdramatic, and that's also also fits into this.
What happens if you just use big words for everything?
Yeah, but that's the thing with using big words. It's give me a sentence like the sky was blue. That's a simple sentence. But I've seen people who they're trying to make themselves seem smart. They go, the sky was a luminous shade of cyan sapphire.
Okay, I did not understand what.
Exactly, but that's what people do because they want to sound smart. Or like, I play the piano, someone's going to talk about.
You just play the piano.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
It's like if I'm trying to do something very simple, like I play the piano. Someone might write, I play the exquisite instrument that is the ancient organ converted into the modern creation of the pianoforte.
Oh my God.
It's like, why? Don't do that.
That is long. That's long.
That's confused.
So I know people who literally write things with thesaurus. You guys know what a thesaurus is, right? It's like the same, like gives you synonyms. We all know what a thesaurus is, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I know people who like write with a thesaurus next to them, just searching up synonyms, and you get sentences like the one that I just said that just sounds overdramatic and unnecessary. So even if you're writing an essay for school and you need to write and you need to reach that word limit, reach the word limit in a way that doesn't overdramatize things.
But what if you want to overdramatic it?
If you want to overdramatize, that's okay, but make sure that you also overdramatize the stakes. So maybe instead of messing up a math question, she messed up her exam to apply to university. That's a bigger thing in which, it makes sense to be overdramatic.
What about the end of the world?
Yeah, definitely be overdramatic by the end of the world. But on that note, there's also the situation of under dramatics, in which it's like the end of the world, and all you say is, "Oh no, there's a meteor about to hit." Whoops. That's.
What's a big deal?
It's a big deal.
It's gonna be in anyway.
What's the big deal? I'm confused. Under dramatic and over dramatic.
Yeah, exactly. Or it's, if you're writing something like, "Oh, my dog died," obviously be over dramatic about that. Don't be like, "Oh, the thing."
I knew it.
I think it might be down. It's not moving, so like maybe it's dead. Yeah.
Or
Do you not care about your own dog?
Or finally. That's me.
Finally. That's gonna be sad.
That's kind of dark.
Yeah.
That's kind of dark.
Just say that. Finally, my dog's dead.
Yeah, that's me. Okay, continue.
Next one. I believe this might be the last one we're talking about today. I can't remember. This might be the last problem we're talking about. I don't remember. I wrote this a long time ago. Anyway, so this is what we call the science textbook. Quantum decoherence is the unexplained loss of coherence in quantum physics, usually referring to the movement of wave energy that isn't fully detected by our senses or scientific tools. It's an interference phenomena between a subject and its environment. There are many situations, however, in which interference effects are artificially or spontaneously suppressed. The theory of a quantum decoherence is precisely the study of such situations. The term decoherence refers to two largely overlapping areas of research. The characteristic feature of the first is a study of concrete models that lead to suppression of interference effects. The second is an abstract and more general formalism capturing essential features of decoherence. What's wrong? What's wrong with this? Wait, actually, before I answer that, who actually understood this paragraph? Anyone?
I think I kind of did.
What do you think this paragraph was talking about?
About the quantum physics of the environment.
Kind of close. No, not really.
Probably the quantum physics of the environment effects, the quantum physics environment effects.
Okay, if I'm being honest, I don't fully understand it either, but I'm pretty sure it's talking about wave energy and undetected. It's things it's like black holes and the theory of
And what's
making things faster. It's these things that can't be fully explained because the different wave energies are only partially detected. So our vision can't see the entire thing, and it's as far as I know, that's what I think it is. But anyway, what's wrong with this paragraph?
It's too complicated.
Anything, it just saying blah 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 blah. It's boring. No one wants to listen to it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that might be good for schools.
if you copy and paste this, no one copy and pastes your essay because your teacher will know in an instant that you didn't write it. I mean, like when you're like using these giant science textbook words like decoherence, phenomena, spontaneously, it's like, do you really need to use these words to write in your like 7th grade school assignment? It's just not necessary.
I think so. Wait.
Well,
Yeah,
that'll give your teacher a surprise. Teacher will be like, wow, you know this?
Yeah, I know it. I
guess.
just copyrighted it. Okay.
I mean, if you know how to correctly use the term interference phenomena, I mean, use it, but I don't even know like exactly how to use that term. And I'm in high school.
But it's just two professional terms in certain areas, so certain science areas, right? So yeah, unless your audience or your reader is from, you know, science areas, otherwise, I mean, it's just too hard for your readers to know what you're really talking about.
There's one more problem with this on like our writing level, and that is that none of this is your own. Like maybe it wasn't plagiarized, maybe you learned it and you wrote it out, therefore it's like you're not breaking any laws, but at the same time none of this is yours. You're just stating facts. It's a dead paragraph. That's what, you know, literature professors call it, a dead paragraph. It's there's nothing to it that's alive. There's nothing to it that's your own at all. It's literally like reading a science textbook. So what happened to a science textbook?
I think I might as well agree with what Alyssa said. Sounds like Wikipedia.com.
Yeah, it does.
Does that make sense?
The science textbook, it doesn't get to the point. I read this entire thing and I still don't know what point this person is trying to make, unless he's just trying to teach me about quantum physics, which I don't care about. Brings us to the next problem. No one cares that much. If it's like, if we wanted to read just information, we'd, like Alyssa said, we would go to Wikipedia. We'd go buy an actual science textbook, not you rewording what a scientist wrote, right? None of it is yours. Technically, you own none of this. And I don't know what the point is. Like, when you write something, especially in a creative aspect, at least some of it has to be your own. You can use like science textbook information, but it has to be something to talk about, something that's your own, which, you know, brings us to how do we fix this? You add your own opinions, your additional input, your theories. And this person,
I think you can use your own languages to say it again. I mean, using simple words, you know, simple sentences, talking about the same idea, right?
Yeah, but even doing that, it's still not your own because you didn't add your own opinions or anything to it. If you wrote this and at the end you added I believe that this theory is definitely, I believe this theory is easily proven because I did this experiment and this happened. Or if you added it, I found this extremely fascinating because it answers questions that scientists haven't been able to answer for a long time. Then that's when it goes from a dead paragraph to a living paragraph because you're adding some life into it. You're adding thoughts and ideas. No one wants to read complete facts. You know, that's what an encyclopedia is for. It's not what writing is for. Even scientific essays for like your chemistry class, that seems like it should be journal facts. Even that can't be complete facts. You should never be finding yourself writing an essay that's, you know, made up out of fact after fact after fact. Some of it has to be your own. Any questions before I move on? Okay, I'm gonna keep going.
Nope.
I have any questions?
Number 6 is the worst one that makes our writing seem so unprofessional, but it's also the easiest mistake to make, and it's called the off-topic. Yeah? Sorry, someone had something to say? Okay, so I feel like you already guessed what this is about, but I'm going to read it anyway. Global warming is a very important topic. It affects each and every one of us with its wide-scale consequences. Stella was on her way to the National Nature Research Center to make a speech about global warming, an issue that she feels very strongly about. She took the bus there, and the fare was $4, which is way too expensive for a bus ride, she thought. The fare for public transit should be much cheaper considering how much people need it and the actual quality of the service they're being given. Seriously, the bus money isn't even going to the driver. It's going to the government, which is a problem since the bus driver is the one doing the actual job, and really, this is a big issue that needs to be resolved. What's the problem with this paragraph?
It literally turned from global warming to payment.
To take it.
Like, yeah. It started turning from global warming. Okay, everyone. Okay, Stella is going to like the National Research Center just to literally talk about global warming. That's on topic. But sooner or later, she gets on the bus. She gets so mad because a ticket is $4.
Yes.
Izzy, you know you don't have to say that a million times.
Say what, a million times? What?
Okay. So how do we fix it? So we just need to stay with the topic, right?
Yeah, exactly. And also after reading this paragraph, I mean, someone who's not that invested might end up thinking that your paragraph is about the bus fare. Like maybe she's trying to write about the bus fare. Maybe that's the point of this paragraph, right? But it's not. You're trying to talk about global warming, right?
Or we can relate to the topic together. For example, the bus fare was expensive. Maybe it's because of global warming.
Yeah, maybe. That's also strategy. If you find you're going off topic, we're going to talk about it in a little bit. So we're going to first of all, why the off topic is so horrible in writing. We know it's confusing. No one knows what you're talking about. You're wandering away because for some reasons you can't figure out how to stick yourself to the main point. And back to your about connecting things. If you do find that your writing starts going off topic, the easiest strategy to do is to figure out a way to pull yourself back to the topic. So like you said at the end, maybe at the end of the paragraph, you could go, maybe that has something to do with global warming, and then you can move back into the global warming aspect of the conversation. So basically how do we fix it is to either just focus on the point and try your best to not stray away too much, or if you find that if you're done writing it and you don't want to change it because you already wrote already, then it's either time to cut some things out because you realize that it's completely off topic, or find a way to tie it together and a creative way to string it back to the original topic. Just make sure you don't wander too off course, because when you're writing something about global warming and you find that like 90% of your essay is about like the TTC fare, it's like that's off topic and completely away from our main point. Any questions about this?
No.
Okay, so now we are going to be doing just a review thing. I'm going to show you a paragraph that's written very badly, and together we are going to figure out how to fix it. So this is the paragraph. Stella opened up, sorry?
Can I read?
Yeah, go ahead.
Stella opened up her phone to check the time, and her eye widened as she realized she was late for her final examinations. Her phone was the iPhone X Plus in shade gold, and the dimension of the screen was about 7 inches tall with a screen resolution of 1125 times 2436 pixels. The iPhone was created by Apple company and the first release in June 1929, 2007. Steve Jobs is the founder of the Apple. She's truly inspiration. Starting this company with nothing but his intelligence, became one of the most successful people alive. She's also a Harvard dropout. In fact, lots of very successful people all dropped out of universities, including Bill Gates, who is now a billionaire, and then Mark Zuckerberg, who is the creator of the Facebook and Instagram. Stella was both those apps on her phone. She's late for examination.
So right off the bat, what happened to this paragraph?
It's dramatic, guys.
Dramatic and off topic.
What else? There's a lot going on here.
There's no index in the beginning.
And
okay, yeah. But like excluding grammar mistakes. Yeah, there should be an indent. That's true. Good point.
Very off topic.
What else
They're
is going
writing too
on?
much
There's
about
a
the
lot of
iPhone
things.
size. They're
Hmm?
writing too much about the iPhone size.
They are. That doesn't matter. Really doesn't matter. That's the info dump part of it.
Lots for wrong on sentences.
There are. There's a lot in here. So, right off the bat, it's info dumping because she's talking about having an iPhone X Plus in the shade rose gold. That's information dumping. It's information that we don't need. We don't care about how tall her phone is and how many pixels are in her phone. Then she goes ahead to go off topic and she starts talking about, iPhone and how iPhones are created. Then she goes even more off topic to talk about Harvard dropouts. And then in the process of doing that, she's being a science textbook because she's talking about Apple Inc. was first released in June 29th of 2007, and Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg did this, they did that. So that goes to the science textbook aspect. Then we have the misplaced dramatics, in which she goes, he's truly an inspiration, starting his company with nothing but his intelligence and becoming one of the most successful people alive, in which she's praising Steve Jobs, but then when she gets to her own situation, she goes, she's late for her exam. Whoops. So I think that's wrong here. So we're gonna do this fixing thing again. So how can this paragraph be fixed? Ideas.
Remove the stuff about the pixels.
Yeah, we're getting rid of that. In fact, we're getting everything about her iPhone. What else should we get rid of here? Do we really need to know who created iPhones?
Nope.
Do we really need to know about Steve Jobs' life story?
No.
Do we really need to know about?
You also don't know. You basically take out everything about Steve Jobs and
Yeah, we don't need to know about Mike Zuckerberg or Instagram or.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she already said, right here, she's like, so we don't even need that. There, we're done. This is the improved version. We are done.
So the whole entire improved version is just literally one sentence.
Yeah, because she didn't give us anything else to work with. If you wanted to, you could talk about, oh my god, she's so stressed, and this is a very important exam, and she studied so hard for it. But this one sentence, this is better than that entire giant paragraph about Steve Jobs and Harvard. That's a fact.
Okay.
Yeah, it really depends on what you want to tell your reader.
Yeah. So this is basically the entire point of this, really. A lot of the mistakes that, we talked about is unnecessary information and going off topic and, these dramatic situations that take up a lot of time. And honestly, especially for students, which we all are, the biggest reason these mistakes are made is because we are trying to reach for that word limit. We are trying to make it as long as possible, even though longer isn't always better, as we've just kind of proved. So when you're editing, your writing and your essays, you have to take out a lot of unnecessary information. And I think the biggest bit of writing advice that you're going to get from any English teacher ever is to just, if you have to think about whether it's important, if you have to stop and think about whether this sentence or this phrase is important or not, then it's probably not important. Because if it is important, you'll know for sure it's important. If you're thinking about it, then just delete it. So that is the end of today's class. I hope you all learned something today. And unless there are any questions, I'm going to see you all next week.
Thank you.
And
Thank you very much.
I'm going to be sending you the links for the few grades that I got here too. So thank you guys so much, and I'll see you next week.
Thank you.